everyone. So I spoke with you last time. It was Monday, and we were at the physical therapist's office having an assessment to see if they would extend my son's physical therapy appointments a bit longer. He had been seen for that was his 12th appointment. The reason why he's being seen by a physical therapist is because I had some concern about the way that his feet um, look. He has very high arches. His toes curl different directions. He is very careful where he places his feet at now. He just never really walked or ran the way other children do. He falls a lot, so I had spoke with his pediatrician several times, and finally I told him, look, you really need to, give me a referral, bring him to somewhere who knows about feet. So he referred him to an orthopedic specialist who he sees and he has seen several times now. She is a person who sent him to physical therapy. She referred him to a place, and I was able to find someone local who would see him. So he has been seen 12 times, and he did get his physical therapy extended. The insurance did approve it, so he will have 8 more visits. So that's twice a week for 4 weeks. So that is what happened this week with the physical therapy. Tuesday, he had a follow-up with his pediatrician. So the reason he had a follow-up with his pediatrician, about a month ago, just over a month ago, he came home from school, and I noticed that he had some blood in his underpants. I brought him to the doctor. The doctor did a urinalysis. He did urine culture. He did blood work, and so far nothing has come up concerning. No infection, no growth or anything. No blood work that has pinpointed to anything in particular. So he did have a ultrasound done of his kidneys and of his bladder, and those results came back as nothing abnormal. So fast forward to 2 Wednesdays ago, so not this past Wednesday, but the Wednesday before, I decided I'm just going to bring him to the hospital. He's still having blood. Like, every day he comes home from school, and he takes a shower, and every day there is blood in his clothes. The doctors looked him over. He has no hernia. He has no visible wounds or sores or anything that, would be bleeding. So it's coming from internal. So I brought him to the hospital, and the hospital ran several tests. They treated him with antibiotic just in case it's an infection. But again, their test came back 2 days later. Negative, no abnormalities. They did do a testicular ultrasound. They did x-rays of his lower part of his body, between his hips, all of his belly, his hips, his business, all that down there. And they were looking for anything abnormal, any masses, anything that shouldn't be there, any foreign bodies, and it came back nothing. So he had a follow-up with his pediatrician, because anytime you go to the hospital, they want you to follow up with your personal care physician. So he saw his pediatrician on Tuesday morning, and he basically reran all tests, like for his blood and his urine, just to make sure, like, within the last couple of days, nothing has changed. And again, everything came back completely normal, nothing abnormal, everything negative, everything normal. So we have a appointment for him to see a urologist on the 5th of November, which is next Friday, because today is Saturday. And basically, we're going to go to this doctor, and we're going to see what he thinks. They may have to run a scope into his bladder to see if the blood is coming from there. If not, we're going to see how to make sure that his prostate is normal. Basically, we're trying to basically cross off everything that it could be to hopefully pinpoint what it is. So if the urologist can't find anything, he will be referred to a doctor. I think it's called a nephrologist. Probably pronounced that wrong, but it is a kidney doctor. Kidney disease does run in our family. They may have to go in and do a biopsy to make sure that all the tissue is normal. But that's what's going on with that part of his body and that issue he's having. It's very frustrating to have your child go through something like this. He's not in any pain. He's not in any discomfort. It's not bothering him in any way. But it's bothering me the fact that he is bleeding and it's consistent and it hasn't stopped. So that's what's going on with that. Tuesday after that appointment, he had an appointment with his dentist. So I brought all my children in June to have x-rays done and cleaning. Some of them needed some dental work, some cavities filled, and they wanted to put this like sealant on their teeth just to prevent cavities later on. And basically the dentist called me at the beginning of this month, October, and told me that they had only done the top teeth that needed to be done, and that it had been over 3 months since their x-rays were done. So they wanted to bring him back in to do more x-rays just to make sure that nothing's changed. So they told me that it had been over 3 months, so he had to go back in and get more x-rays done. So I brought him in to get more x-rays, and while we were there, they told me that he needed more work than when he did in June. So they referred him to a general dentist that sees more than just pediatric, because he is 14, so he's older, so he needs it's more extensive work is what I was told. However, I did bring him into that dentist on Thursday morning, and they basically said that they didn't understand why they couldn't do it, but it was fine. They would take care of it. I actually really like this dentist that he's going to now, because his son is autistic. Not his son, his nephew is autistic, and he has general knowledge of how to care for a child who has autism. And that's comforting to me, because some people, they just don't know how to handle children who have autism. If you are really calm with them and take your time, things go a lot smoother. If you are kind of like in their face and moving too fast, it can really stress them out. So I really like this doctor in the aspect that he knows how to care for my child. So after that appointment, I was supposed to bring him to his appointment for his braces for his legs, but they actually told me they hadn't received them in the mail yet. So he went in at the beginning of the month, and they did like a cast on his leg, and they used that to they sent it off to a company who will use that to make custom braces for his legs. The braces for his legs are going to be for the weakness he has in his ankles, and also to help him walk in a proper position, because he doesn't really put his feet in the correct position when he walks. He walks too far on the front of his feet. So he can put his heels down, but his heel cords are tight. So we're praying that once he stops growing, because he is 14, once he stops growing, that he won't have to use these, because the legs will stop stretching. You know, the tendons, muscles, and everything will stop stretching and things like that. So hopefully he gets these in the mail soon. We have another appointment for him to be seen on Thursday of next week. And then yesterday, Friday, he did see his orthopedic specialist again. That was just for a follow-up, because she assumed that he would have been seen for his new appointments for his physical therapy, and that he would have had his braces by then. She said usually it takes only 1 to 2 weeks for them to get braces in, but it's taken longer because the shipping is just outrageous right now, the time frame for them to get things shipped back and forth. So when I was there with her last time, she had mentioned getting an MRI with a neurologist for confirmation, because she had diagnosed him with a form of cerebral palsy, which is dysplasia, which causes the high arches and the tight heel cords, and so it also causes the weakness on one side. He has weakness in both of his hips and legs, but it's worse on the right side. So I finally got a referral for a neurologist. I'm waiting for them to contact me, and while I was at the doctor's office, he mentioned Charcot-Marie-Tooth syndrome, which is a genetic disorder that is passed down genetically. It starts at adolescency, where the body becomes weakened and it progresses as a person would age. As far as I know, that does not run on either side of mine or my husband's family, but with that MRI, the neurologist actually can see if that is what's going on. There were some other things that were written down on the piece of paper, some things that the MRI could pinpoint if that is what is going on. So any kind of disorder or a disease that a person can have and be shown through an MRI of the brain, if it shows up on there, then we'll know whether or not he has it or not. So when he was born, he was born not breathing. The umbilical cord was around his neck. Whenever I was having him, he flatlined. He was not breathing whenever he was born, and it took a couple minutes for him to actually take his first breath. So it's a good possibility that he has that, but we're praying that he doesn't. But if he does, we're thanking God that we will be having gotten answers to some questions that we have about his general health, and the way that we need to help him. Autistic children aren't exactly the same as children who aren't autistic. They have difficulties, just like anyone else will have difficulties, but there is things that we can do to help him along the way. He does have an IEP. He does have specialized learning in class, but he is basically expected to do everything any other child is doing. So it's just a diagnosis. So also, whenever he was seen at his pediatric as a pediatrician's office, sorry, I completely lost that word. At his pediatrician's office, I did bring up the fact that he had a hearing test done in August, and for some reason the doctor just never brought it up after he received the results. Whenever I told him that I needed to find out what was going to happen, he then looked at his records and said, oh yeah, here it is, the results. It wasn't there before, which it was there. It was done in August, so it was been there. But he finally did write me a referral for him to be seen by ear, nose, and throat doctor. So basically when he was seen by the audiologist, she placed a device on the outside of his ear, which basically vibrates and allows him to hear from the outside. And he heard perfectly fine. But when she placed the device on the inside of his ear to play the sound, he didn't hear it. He didn't hear the lower pitches, the lower tones. So her response was that he can hear. It is borderline hearing loss, and that as long as a person who doesn't have a very deep manly voice is speaking with him, that he should be able to hear perfectly. However, I don't have a manly voice, and he can't hear me most of the time. I have to really go to him and get his attention to speak with him. Also, he doesn't ever hear what his dad is saying. Like if he's just like having a random conversation, like from across the room or whatever, he has to like really get his attention. Sometimes he'll hear us talking and he'll assume we said something. He'll make up something in his head that, okay, I heard you say this, and that's not what it is. It's because he just can't hear us to understand what we're saying. So it is a concern, and he will be going to ear, nose, and throat doctor very soon. I have to call in. I'll probably call Monday or Tuesday to see if they had got the referral, because sometimes when doctors' offices get referrals, they take their time calling you to set up an appointment. So I'll be calling the ear, nose, and throat doctor and the neurologist on Monday or Tuesday to confirm that they got the referral and see about getting his appointments scheduled. But it's a lot going on right now. I thank everybody for watching. If you are praying for our family and my child, I thank you very much. He's just going with the flow and living his everyday normal life while all this is going on. So thank God that he's not really stressed out about anything that's happening. As far as I know, he hasn't said anything about it, and he's just going with his everyday normal life. So thank you, everybody. You be blessed. Bye.